Welcome. Today we're going to talk about black and white images. I am a fan. I love black and white. I feel like it just evokes emotion that sometimes color loses. So I hope you love it too. And the main thing I'm going to do in this tutorial is to show you how to create your own black and whites. So you can see here that I have 4 black and whites that I've actually created. And I pretty much use these 4 for all of my clients. Depending on my client, they all have a preference. And y'all, it is so easy to create your own preset. So let me show you how. We're just going to go over super basic, easy way to create your own black and white. So the first thing you're going to do, can you believe this image? It's gorgeous. I haven't touched this image. This is raw. This is how amazing this photographer is. This is straight out of camera. Unbelievable. But all I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the V key. So you hit the V key, and it automatically turns your image into black and white. But there's always more that you're probably going to want to do to tweak it just the way you love it. And you probably will find that you're doing the same things over and over. And that's when you need to create a preset as your starting point, so the basic sliders are already done for you. So when I look at this image, I'm just going to bump the exposure a tiny bit, and I'm going to bump the shadow. So everybody knows what exposure and shadows do. Everybody knows highlights. I'll bring down the highlights a little bit to bring back the detail in her dress. Maybe bring down the whites a tiny bit just to bring back some of that detail. And then I'm actually going to bring the blacks down a tiny bit. Blacks are different than shadows. So shadows are what they say, shadows. Blacks actually, Lightroom looks for black pixels and it only affects that. So even if a tux or a pair of shoes, or if someone has dark hair and there's black in their hair, it's going to bring that down and it doesn't touch the shadows. So they do work differently. And then the other thing, let's pull this image in so you can see. It's kind of fun sometimes to add texture to your black and whites. Can you see how her skin changes? Or you could even make it softer by going to the left. You can make it more clear or less clear. If you want to make it softer, move to the left, right to make it a little crisper. And you can actually use dehaze with black and white as well. Let me pull back out. So if you use dehaze, you'll see it kind of makes it a little bit sharper. And then you can come back in, you can up your exposure again. And you're just going to fiddle with these until you get them like you want them. And then don't forget and come down here under the HSL panel, and it's going to turn to B and W, black and white, instead of HSL. When you hit the V key, because HSL stands for hue, saturation, and luminance, which you're not necessarily going to have in a color image. You don't have hue and all of that, or saturation necessarily, because you've completely desaturated it. So it'll turn your HSL panel into black and white panel. But what's so fun about this is, for instance, watch her cheek and her lips. If I bring down the red slider, it brings back a little more detail wherever there was red. Same with the orange. If you want it, skin has a ton of orange in it. No matter what color your skin is, it has a ton of orange in it. So if you bring that down, you can darken her skin, add more depth if that's something you want to do, or you can even brighten it if that's something you want to do. And these all work the same. Any yellow in the image is going to be darker or lighter depending on how you move the slider, green. So play with those. I mainly play with the red and the orange, sometimes the yellow, and then sometimes blue. To get a black and white just the way I want it. The other thing you can do for black and whites is you can add grain. A lot of people like to add grain for kind of that filmy look. So if you wanted to add grain, I would pull it in just to see how much grain you're actually adding when you do that. So let's say, for ease sake, let's say, okay, we've got this image exactly the way we want it, because that's probably all that I would fiddle with. I mean, there are other things you can do. You could get in here and fiddle in the tone curve if you want, but you probably really don't need it. But again, for ease sake, let's just say you've got your black and white just the way you want it, and you think, okay, I know I'm going to move those sliders almost every time, and I want to create a preset so that when I want to make a black and white, all I have to do is click that preset, and I know at least it's a great starting point. So once you've got your sliders the way you want them, all you have to do is you go up here on the left-hand side under presets, you hit the plus symbol, you hit create preset. You're going to name it, let's just name it My Black and White. And then here, you're going to want to check all of these except what you see that I have unchecked. You don't want to you don't want to check transform. These are grayed out and you can't check them. But I would go ahead and check everything else because I'm telling you that because I'm not really sure what sliders you are using. If you know for sure you didn't use some of these sliders, you can uncheck them. But anyway, I just leave them checked most of the time. And then I always have it put it in my user preset folder. So these are all in my user preset folder is where I keep all of my original presets. And then any presets that I purchase, I keep above that. I don't commingle them because someone else's preset is proprietary to them. So I keep mine separate. Anyway, and then you just click create. And then you will notice under, I called it my black and white, under my in my user preset folder, there it is. So when you go to another image and you click black and white, you will notice that all of the sliders that we adjusted have been adjusted and you have your very own black and white preset. It's really that easy. So have fun with it. One last thing I wanted to do, I am going to give you guys a black and white preset of mine. I'm so excited to give it away. And I thought it would be fun to vote. I want to hear which one you guys want. So I'm going to post all 4 of these images. Whichever one gets the most votes, I'm going to give that preset away. So that'll be so fun to do. This is my black and white basic. This is my black and white crisp. This is my black and white film. And this is my black and white soft. So these are the 4 that I use all the time with all my clients. Each client has a different preference. So depending on my client, I would use a different one of these. But I want to give one of these away. So let's vote. Let me know your favorite. And I will give that preset away to you guys. And as always, if you have any other questions, never hesitate to reach out. I love, love, love helping you guys. I love answering your questions. I just love sharing what I've learned in my journey as a photo editor in the last 6 years. So comment on this video, DM me on Instagram, email me, however you can get a hold of me. Let's chat. Until next time, happy editing.